Welcome back, good people of the internet, and thank you so much for tuning back into my show Partumiter, where today we will be taking a trip down the Isle of Naan. That's Naan Bread, which is an inexplicable underdog in the world of breads. Now let's get the proverbial ball rolling out with this leavening agent, or bloom, or starter, or whatever tickles you fancy. Okay, whenever this scale decides to tear. Meanwhile, I'm just going to go ahead and start getting my ingredients. What you are going to need, aside from a working scale, is 4 grams or 1 teaspoon of yeast. Again, 4 grams or 1 teaspoon of white sugar, and also a little pinch of salt. Now, I mean, we'll try our best to leave Salt Bay in 2017, but damn it, doesn't he crawl back into our hearts. Now just pour yourself out a 1/4 cup of mineral water. I mean, tap water is fine, but it does have chlorine in it and stuff like that, which isn't great for the yeast. Now what that does is it digests all the sugars and releases all the carbon dioxide. This ultimately results in a more aerated and fluffy kind of dough.
Yes, science!
So what you want to do is give it a good mix, set it aside for about 20 minutes while it starts doing its thing, activating, getting nice and light and frothy. You'll be able to see a noticeable difference when it's ready. Now you want to take a big bowl and fill it with about 75 grams of plain flour, or in this case I'm using a high brand sort of chapati flour because healthiness and all that business, and add in 25 grams of 00 flour. Now this is just normal wheat flour, just really finely ground. I believe it's the finest ground flour that you can get is 00. Don't quote me on that, but probably quote me on that. And you want yourself half a cup of, again, 00 flour on the side, and that's literally just there to feel your way through the dough. And then just give it a good thorough mix, make sure all of those dry ingredients are combined. And after all, this is an Indian recipe and they adore yogurt, so we're just going to put in a 1/4 cup of yogurt within the mixture. Give it a good old mix. Now I did forget to record this bit. You want to add in a bit of salt to taste. And just give that a quick mix through, just let it absorb as much as flour as it can, and basically just stir it until you feel like you're running around in circles. Now just add in your olive oil, roughly about a tablespoon's worth. You're not going too heavy on that. Hopefully by now your yeast should have bloomed and you're looking for a sort of frothy consistency. I like to add in parts just to give myself peace of mind that it has been mixed through thoroughly. And then you just want to sort of bring all these ingredients together until they form a singular mass. Okay, what we're doing now is adding in that half a cup of flour bit by bit. Now it's not essential that we use the whole thing. Like I said, it is literally just to feel your way through the dough. Tip it out onto a floured surface, or just use the excess flour in the bowl already. Then you just want to give it a good strong knead for about 10 to 15 minutes, continuously adding flour and or water as you go along. Okay, CV Wonder could probably tell you at this point that this dough is looking kind of dry, so we're going to add a bit more moisture in the form of mineral water and just sort of mop up the rest of that flour around it. Yeah, it was a dry joke, but luckily for you, my jokes are the only dryness you're going to take home from this recipe, I can promise you that. Now be sure to keep your work surface lightly floured. You don't want your dough becoming nightmarishly sticky, and it's just going to make the whole process of kneading a hell of a lot easier. Now, every chefy person ever does this. They sort of knead it and tuck it into a bowl. Now, it is actually quite important because you want to make it as seamless as possible, just so you don't get any sort of dry, flaky, crusty, nasty bits on the end. What you want to do is give it a good drizzle with olive oil, cover the whole thing just to prevent it from forming a crust. Then it's real simple, just stick it right back into the bowl, cover it with a bit of cling film and leave it in a dark, warmish area so it's a good environment for the yeast to rise and bloom and sort of aerate the dough and turn it into a delicious fluffiness. Now just please don't disturb it for at least 2 to 3 episodes of Rick and Morty. You'll pass the time, trust me. And yet my producer is just telling me in my earpiece as we speak that that is not yet a metric, so we're just going to go ahead and correct that to roughly an hour, 1.5 hours. Or at least until there's a noticeable difference in size.
Who's your daddy?
Then, just like my hopes and dreams, you'll want to deflate the dough, not all the way, but just give it a good knead for about 5 minutes. You don't want to go excessive here, and just roll it out onto a lightly floured surface. And here comes the fun part. You want to cut the dough into 4. Doesn't this just look like one of those satisfying videos you find on Instagram? I don't know. I find it satisfying. I'm too grown to buy gunge, so I do it with dough. Lols. So you want to roll it out into small little balls. I just take this opportunity to give it a final knead, and just roll it again, tuck it in on itself, section into 4 equal portions. Oh, if you hadn't realized this, or if I hadn't told you this before, this recipe makes 4 naans. Now just flour down your work surface and your rolling pin, and take one of the balls and just evenly and consistently roll them out to almost half a centimeter or a centimeter thickness. If you actually wanted this to be a little bit better and you weren't as hungry as I was when I was making this, I would cover the balls with a damp cloth and let them rise again for another 5 to 10 minutes. It'll just result in a lighter and fluffier dough, but I don't think mine's going to rise anymore because of the kind of bran flour that I'm using either way. You just want to roughly roll it out until it reaches a sort of classic naan teardrop shape or a circle, or if you just do what you can really, and if it doesn't turn out so pretty, just call it rustic. Well, you get the idea. Okay, so don't hate me. Traditionally you would use a tawa or a tandoor, but I'm just going to use a flat pan because my hob is absolutely so it's just going to make life a bit easier for me. So what I do, I get a pan and I make it sort of medium hot and cover it in a bit of oil, let the oil heat up as well, and meanwhile get your oven ready, just sort of a highish 180ish temperature. Essentially we're lightly frying one side and then we're going to finish it off in the oven. I like to use an oven pizza tray. The holes in it just really help the heat circulate properly around it, keeping the outside nice and crispy but the inside light and fluffy. It's amazing. And then just lightly sear it until you sort of see the edges of the dough become almost opaque. At that point you just want to take a spatula, lift it up a bit and see how much browning you've got going on the inside. As you can see, it just looks phenomenal. Now you just want to lightly butter the top and stick it back in the oven until you find those bubbles just brown and just have this beautifully spotted look. I actually opted to flip mine over in the fryer, fry it in a bit and then finish it off in the oven and just spread the butter on later on. At this point you can literally do anything to garnish it, garlic butter, cheese, whatever tickles your fancy really, and just, you know, go all out, get creative. I mean, isn't that what we're celebrating here? Finally, of course, the moment we've all been waiting for, the cross section, the all important look. Just look at that thing. It's everything you want from naan. It's everything you need it to be. It will just lift any dish. You can stick a kebab in it for all I care. Just look at that. It's amazing. It's chewy at the same time. It's tender. That just nostalgic fresh bread taste. There's nothing that will make a soul happy like freshly baked bread. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you've got anything you want me to try out, just go ahead and let me know in the comments. Whatever you need to, check out my other videos. Really appreciate you watching my videos. Happy cooking.